Hey everybody, welcome to the review from Izzy's Mac Escape on YouTube. It is 10:57 p.m. and as you can see, I am decked out for the occasion. I just finished watching Top Gun Maverick. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the details of this review. As per usual, it is spoiler free. Top Gun Maverick is a sequel to its predecessor that was released in 1986, Top Gun, that starred Tom Cruise, Val Kilmer, Kelly McGinnis, and Tom Skerritt, focusing on the relationship between Maverick and Goose and their journey through the aviation fighter pilot school that trains them into experiencing their first bout with enemy combat. It also, not only was it focusing on the relationship and the overall aviation tactics at that point in time, Top Gun essentially personified the atmosphere of the 80s. And as someone who grew up during the 80s, I can tell you Top Gun was everywhere. My dad, when he was in the Air Force, he would take me on the flight line and show me all the different jets that was on there on the base, and seeing these fighter jets was always a true magical experience for me because they're just so much larger than life in person. And he would tell me all the different parts that he would be working on or deploying to the pilots, or he would tell me the different models that he would be involved with. It was, and of course, during that point in time, a lot of kids like myself were obsessed with fighter jets. And Top Gun, the original film, was associated with this iconic soundtrack. You had Cheap Trick's song "Mighty Wings," Berlin's "Take My Breath Away," and Kenny Loggins' "Danger Zone." Those songs overall personify the 80s as well, and they gave you this sensation almost as if that you were in the air with Maverick. Now, the limitations that Top Gun had at that point in time, given that it was released in 1986, the technology that was available couldn't really give you that perspective of being in the air, literally, with Maverick. It was special effects and technology wasn't at the acceptable level in order to give you that faithful rendition of what it's like to be a fighter pilot. Now you fast forward to 36 years later. It's hard to believe it's been 36 years, quite honestly, man. It just makes you feel a little old. But you have this film, the sequel, that stars Tom Cruise. You have Miles Teller, Ed Harris, John Hamm, and Val Kilmer, and Jennifer Connelly. And Maverick is called upon to be a teacher for the next line of fighter pilots that is going to a much more deadlier enemy combat zone that, more for all intents and purposes, paints a picture of one of them not being able to come back at some point. It was a lot more different than its predecessor. It was a lot more darker, mature, serious. It has a lot of emotional, thematic elements that just tug at the heartstrings. And I have to say, I thought Top Gun Maverick was absolutely just... It's one of those films that is pure magic on the big screen. And I can remember there was a lot of heavy debate at the time, given, well, we all know what has been going on for the past 2 years. And they were almost dedicated to putting it on the small screen, and Tom Cruise emphatically say that no, this will not go on the small screen. This is for the theatrical release. It is for the audience to experience on the big screen. Streaming is out of the question, and I am so glad that he fought for that. I am so glad that he got it, because in all honesty, I could not imagine even attempting to enjoy this on the small screen. This film was absolutely necessary for what's going on in the world today, providing that pure, raw escapism that is all about nostalgia. The second the credits hit and you hear the iconic song, the score that's associated with the film, you're transfixed. You're in that moment, and it sucks you right in. As soon as you hear that song, and you know what song I'm talking about, and this is not a spoiler because you know that song is in the film, you are right there. That's all I can say. You're just right there. And I wanted to show this as well. As you can see, I have the same films, obviously. I'm a collector of VHS cassette tapes as well, and I always wanted to have the original Top Gun on VHS, so I went and found this at a pawn shop for $1. And as you know, I bought the DVD as well. It's a great film. Top Gun Maverick, I do believe, surpasses everything that Top Gun represents. It's absolutely outstanding. A quality story, great acting, atmosphere, heavy emotions. There was two scenes in this film that got me pretty good actually. They hit me pretty hard within my emotional core, and it just had me think about life in general and my dad. It was it was a very powerful moment. They were very powerful moments. I have to say, Miles Teller was. I got chills looking at him because he looked exactly like Goose, exactly like Goose. And since he's playing Goose's son, it's pretty obvious. But man, he just looked exactly like Goose, especially when they did the flashback sequences. You're seeing Goose in the bar playing the piano, then you see Rooster. That's Miles Teller's character. This picture perfect. That was top notch cast. Whoever was in charge of casting this film did a magnificent job, because that you simply couldn't get a better. You could not have found a better actor than that, in my opinion. Tom Cruise, top notch as well. I don't believe I've ever watched a Tom Cruise film that I've never liked. So he is, regardless of however you feel about his religious beliefs or him as a person, there is no debating that this man is absolutely fearless and gives his all when it comes to film. He just does it all. And the things that he does, whether it was in Mission Impossible, The Mummy, or Top Gun, I would never consider doing because I'm afraid of heights. But just, man, he does a marvelous job. It was great seeing him on the big screen again. I could have done without the love interest with Jennifer Connelly's character. I know that Kelly McGillis obviously wasn't available to reprise her role from the previous film, but you could just tell that that love interest story within this film was tacked on in order to, I don't know, to give Jennifer Connelly something to do or to extend the runtime. I have no idea. Either way, I could have done without that. It didn't detract the film from me, but as I say, you could just tell that it was just tacked on for whatever reasons. I would have preferred that it would focus more on a relationship between Maverick and Brewster, or maybe more focusing on the fighter pilots and their chemistry, because they all have great chemistry with one another. I love the relationship that they have with each other. And when I talk about nostalgia, and you see Iceman, Val Kilmer, again, that was goosebumps worthy too. And the fact that Tom Cruise fought for Val Kilmer to return to this film, he's earned my respect regardless. Just one major highlight. The major highlights of the film is the aerial sequences. The fact that they actually did this. I mean, they actually filmed these fighter jets. I mean, it's not CGI. It's real. Real fighter jets in the sky. How they filmed it, I'll have no idea. When I was a kid and I used to watch the making of certain films, my dad would always say to me that he was never a fan of watching anything that involved the making of, as he always wanted to watch a certain film blind. He didn't want to have this perspective of knowing how they did this or how they did that. He wanted to be in that moment and experience the magic without having it spoiled beforehand. And I can see what he was talking about, because I did not watch any of the behind-the-scenes features or didn't watch the making of, not even watch any trailers other than what was released on YouTube. And never watched any clips either. I went in completely blind, and what separates this film from the 1986 one is how they did it. It was just beautiful. The cinematography was wonderful, and you felt you were in the air with them, and that's what makes it so wonderful. It's almost as if that you were sitting there in the cockpit with them, and you're experiencing the tilts, you're experiencing the turns, you're experiencing them going upside down and speeding up and going into the atmosphere. It just felt right. It felt perfect, and it was raw, and I can't really express enough how wonderful it was to be able to experience that moment and feel you were in those fighter jets engaging in enemy combat. And it was quite intense too, just very, very raw, dark, emotional, intense, just top-notch quality and quality filmmaking. It's very difficult for me to put into words because I simply do not know how they did it. And most likely when it's released on DVD, I will watch the behind-the-scenes featurettes to see how they did it. I also want to watch this in IMAX just to see exactly, just to get the overall full experience again. I mean, it was wonderful experiencing in the theater that I was in. However, I just want to be able to experience it in IMAX, and just full surround sound and recliner seats and everything about it, just the full epic quality that's absolutely necessary for us to be able to fully appreciate Top Gun Maverick. overall, I have to say this film was perfect, absolutely perfect. Aside for the Jennifer Connelly scenes, this film was everything that everybody needs to see. From my perspective, I do recommend it. It is fun, nostalgic, beautiful, intense, raw, emotional. Everything about it is perfect. I do recommend it. Top Gun Maverick, I have to give it a 2 thumbs up, a 5 out of 5. I recommend it. Please let me know in the comment section what you thought about it. Let me know on my Facebook what you thought about it. I'll provide the link. Be sure to hit the subscribe button below and spread the words to your friends and family. And I'll be seeing you again, my friends. Take care and peace out.